Hello everyone, my name is Steven and welcome to Storytime. Today, we're going to be reading some r/malicious compliance stories. And quickly before this video starts, I just want to say about 60% of you lovely people aren't currently subscribed. So if you enjoy these videos, please make sure to subscribe so you'll never miss an upcoming video. With that being said, let's get into the stories. Don't want us to do it the right way? Alright, you're the boss. Hello friends. This is a happy little story from my time as a warehouse assistant. Some background first. This happened while working for a small business. The boss in question is actually a great dude, but like all bosses, he's under a ton of stress and has his moments. This particular piece of compliance revolves around a nail gun in use in the warehouse. Don't worry, no idiots were harmed in the writing of the story. So every afternoon we have pretty large shipments getting sent out. Everything sold for the day would be popped onto pallets and shipped off to customers. Now, pallets are surprisingly expensive and if not sized properly cost a fortune extra in freight. So we eventually started making our own in order to fit the size of the products being shipped, using the previously mentioned nail gun to put them together. All was going well until the delivery guy told us that, and I quote, "Those freaking pallets of yours are shoot and keep falling apart. Stop using the freaking nail gun and put them together properly." We looked into it and he was 100% right. See, the nails from the nail gun were super small, thin, and couldn't grip for shoot. The warehouse manager could actually pull the pallets with his hands. So yeah, not good. 'Twas reported to the admin folks upstairs and the show went on. From that point on, we started using normal nails instead. Yeah, it took longer, but we were still saving money and the delivery folks were happy as clams. Now for the turn. One Friday, late in the afternoon, the boss comes down and lets us know the sales team has just landed a biggin. "We need some pallets, lads. I want to ship this afternoon. Grab the nail gun and throw some together ASAP. "No problem, I'll get on it now." Boss goes back upstairs and I begin belting pallets together using normal nails. 5 minutes later, boss comes back down and he is fuming. "OP, I can see you on the cameras. What the heck are you doing?" "Hammering the pallets up, boss, as you said." "I said to use the darn nail gun." "Well, I would, but when we used it last time..." "No buts. We bought that nail gun, now you better bloody use it. In fact, I'll show you how." Boss man takes the nail gun and slaps together a pallet in 20 seconds flat. Normally takes about 3 to 4 minutes by hammer. "There, see? Now do it the right way or go home." "Yes, boss." And so begins our compliance. I pick up the nail gun and smash out 5 fragile pallets in the space of about 3 minutes. Exactly the same way the boss man did, which I'm okay with. It's a ton easier. All while my coworkers giggled with glee. Come shipping time, I realized just why they were all giggling. All the other forklift users are out for the rest of the afternoon, with local deliveries, sickness, and general excuses. The only person with a fork license whom was going to have to load the truck was, you guessed it, boss man. So boss man picks up the first pallet and is about to load it onto the truck when the pallet is hit by a stray breeze and proceeds to fall apart on the forks. The delivery guy says, "The freak did I tell you about those pallets? Are you idiots using that nail gun again?" Boss stammers, saying we needed them sent this afternoon and the nail gun should have done the job. "I don't bloody care. I cannot take any of the pallets you've built with that nail gun. If they fall apart in our possession and damage something or someone, it's a bloody nightmare. Do them again and I'll pick them up tomorrow." And with that parting gift, in his own act of compliance, the delivery driver keeps to his word, closes the truck, and drives off without our shipment. The boss sits in silence, contemplating the thousands of dollars in product which has now experienced a nice big shipping delay. Did I mention this was Friday? "OP? Yeah, boss. Retire the nail gun. And sorry about earlier." "Don't worry about it. Want a hand getting these all back inside?" "Yep. And if you've got some time before closing, I would appreciate some fresh pellets as well." "On it. I'll have them knocked up in a bit." And the nail gun was never heard from again. Don't you all enjoy a happy ending? Although the boss man forced the use of the nail gun, it was pretty good to see at the end that he was really reflecting on the poor decision being made and even apologized to OP. So I would say no harm, no foul in the story, most likely, besides of course the thousands of dollars of shipments getting delayed, but sometimes that happens, I guess. A simple malicious compliance for my brother who wanted his drink to be not so cold. So my brother and I are eating lunch at a restaurant our friend works at. The friend is our server and grabs us drinks. My brother, being his usual smart butt self, says his Coke is too cold and asks for it to be warmer. Our server, also a widely known smart butt, says okay and takes his Coke to the back. He comes back to the table with my brother's drink and a huge smile and says, "That should be warm enough." My brother took a sip and spit it out. Friend had microwaved the Coke for 2 minutes. Lesson learned for my brother, there's always a bigger fish. Unless the drink is literally at like borderline freezing, who's gonna complain that a drink is too cold? Even borderline freezing's probably okay. This right here is a perfect example of a jokester getting joked back even harder. World's worst invoice? Enjoy the extra charge. I worked as an accountant for a company that auto-charged monthly for the use of their product. Part of my job would be to respond to customers who had questions regarding their invoices or credit card charges. These emails would be delivered to a general accounting email address so my coworkers and I could tackle them together. One day an email arrives with the subject line, "World's worst invoice." Oh, how excited I was to open this beauty of a complaint. The guy proceeds to go all caps throughout the email about how bad our invoices are and what the heck is he even being charged for. He was gracious enough to attach a screenshot of the invoice itself. Turns out he was referencing the credit card receipt in his email. Being the thorough and diligent accountant I am, I wanted to ensure he was being charged correctly. I popped into the system to discover that he was actually being undercharged. Oh no! I corrected his account to confirm he'd be charged correctly going forward. I crafted my reply email. "Thank you for pointing out the error in our system. Without your email, the incorrect charge would have gone unnoticed. Please note that the attachment you provided was of our credit card receipt. You may find your actual invoice attached for your reference. Your invoice will include the additional charge of $80 next month for the additional users that were incorrectly charged for previously." I never received a reply. So, to be fair, I kind of understand if it wasn't clear what he was being charged, that somebody would be upset with the invoice. That being said, I don't agree with sending the world's worst invoice email in all caps and all that stuff. Obviously, getting upset like that is not the answer. Asking to clarify, that's acceptable. And unfortunately, in this situation, it ended up being not the best thing to have done for this guy. No exceptions? Game on. Happened about 9 years ago. Me, a band director at middle school in a large urban school district in USA in 4th year of my first job. Principal, mostly good dude, but prone to making up asinine policies that everyone has to follow in order to appear fair. My first gig as a teacher, my principal that had a bad habit of making new policies that were great for core, language arts, math, science, social studies, teachers, but requiring electives. Art, music, PE, shop, etc. Teachers to follow them as well, even though it made no sense to do. It's annoying, and I don't take kindly to being told to follow dumb rules for the sake of appearing fair. I also hate the hypocrisy of being told to differentiate my lessons to accommodate different learners and then not being given the same professional courtesy from my boss. In this particular case, we're at a whole staff meeting and principal decrees that when students get into trouble and are placed into in-school suspension, a form of punishment in which they are confined to a small classroom, sitting all day, do their schoolwork, and aren't supposed to interact with anyone except the teacher in charge of in-school suspension. Their teachers shall send the exact same work they would be doing in their regular classroom that day had they not been in in-school suspension. You see, most teachers had a stack of busy work for students in school suspension. Since a student usually needs to be present for the learning portion of a lesson in order to complete the associated assignment/homework, students would then return to the class the day after in-school suspension and be a day or more behind. And principal thought that the best way to solve this issue was to have students complete the same work their non-in-school suspension confined classmates were completing, without the benefit of, actually being taught how to do it. It may work sometimes, but I immediately thought it was a dumb policy, especially since my classes play musical instruments, which I presumed would be rather disruptive to the quiet environment they tried to cultivate down in in-school suspension. So, back at the staff meeting, after principal makes his promulgation, a few hands shoot up, presumably from folks with the same reservations as mine, but the principal is having none of it. "No exceptions," he declares, I know it's only a matter of time before I'll have a student in in-school suspension, so I make my plan. I'll find out if there will, in fact, be no exceptions. Nary a week later, it happened. I arrived to work to find an email that my student, whom we'll call Jose, has been placed in in-school suspension. Please send down the work you'll be doing in class today. No exceptions. Game on. I grab Jose's saxophone and music folder and stroll into the in-school suspension room. I tell the teacher in charge which pieces we would be rehearsing that day, and even left a list of instructions on which sections were most in need of work, etc. The teacher in charge looked like a deer in headlights, and my only true regret is that she was collateral damage in my little crusade. Whatever, if she has to help students with all the subjects, music should be no exception. I head back to my classroom and plan the rest of my lessons for the day. At lunch, I notice an email from my principal that simply reads, "OP, please see me in my office." I had a bit of time, so I head on down there. Here's a recap of our conversation. "Do you think you're funny?" "I'm not sure what you mean." Narrator: he knew exactly what principal meant. "Why would you send a saxophone to in-school suspension?" Jose needed it to complete today's lesson. "Why wouldn't you just send written work? In-school suspension is supposed to be quiet." "Well, I was going to ask at last week's meeting if that's what I should do, but you said, no exceptions. And since today is a playing day in 7th grade band, I sent the exact work we would be doing in class." Principal looks like he may have an aneurysm. "Well, clearly electives are an exception." "So, to be clear, I should send written work to students in in-school suspension from now on, even if that's not what we're doing in class that day?" "Yes, that's what I just said." "Got it. Anything else?" "No, please leave." "Yes, sir." Leaves, hiding a poop-eating grin. Whole electives department got an email that day from principal explaining that work sent to in-school suspension should be work that can be completed independently and quietly. Notably, there was no line that said, no exceptions. If you're managing the workers under you and you're being extremely strict and you're saying no exceptions, don't be surprised when some wacky, weird, or otherwise inconvenient things happen, because you're giving people no leeway to do anything that's actually right. No food upstairs? Okay then. So this story isn't anything too big or dramatic, but I thought I'd share. My stepdad knows I bring up food in my room to snack on while doing work for college, etc. He's usually asleep when I grab a bite to eat though. My mother is also aware of this and she's fine with it. Anyway, I've been really into Nick Cage movies lately. I know, I have a poop taste in movies, leave me alone. And so I made myself some popcorn about an hour before stepdad goes to bed. It went like this. Me and stepdad on couch watching movie. "What the heck are you doing?" Making popcorn." "Where do you think you can eat that popcorn, huh?" "With Nick Cage, haha." "And what makes you freaking think you're allowed to bring food up there? Who told you that you could?" "This isn't news to him. He just likes to idiot me out." "Mr. Cage, of course." Stepdad getting sick of my lighthearted joking. "You're not freaking allowed to bring food up there, so you better get comfy." Malicious compliance begins. I bring my laptop downstairs and sit at the table, clicking on my movie without earbuds. Mom and stepdad stare at each other in disbelief, mouths agape before my mom asks what the heck I'm doing. "Oh, I'm watching the movie since I can't eat upstairs." "Do you have earbuds or something?" "Yeah, what the freak, we're trying to watch something." "Me too, and no I don't." "I totally do, I just felt like being spiteful since he's yet again complaining at me for some random bull." I continued to watch my movie as they stared in frustration, bickering about how I'm being too loud and disrespectful. I shrug. They tell me to lower it. Lowered by 1. Tell me again. Lowered until it's almost muted. Stepdad continues to idiot at me. So I get up and go into the other room and sit on his big fancy desk chair with greasy little fingers. Maybe I took it a little far, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't sick of him complaining at me just because he's having a bad day. So I don't see what's the bad thing about taking food upstairs. It's one thing if they're notably messy. Like if they're obviously messy, they are going to make a huge mess, they have their greasy little fingers touching all over everything, then I understand trying to be a little restrictive with that. OP hasn't said that they felt that way though, so I don't understand why you're being so restrictive about it. What's wrong with taking food upstairs? I just don't understand. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for listening to and watching the Storytime channel. If you haven't yet, please consider subscribing and let us know what you thought about these stories in the comments below. Thank you all again for watching and listening to the Storytime channel.